we are learning about like NASA Space Apps Challenge and how to participate in this challenge and how to succeed in this challenge, right? So this is our goal for next 4 or 5 months. So this is what we're going to learn. We already went through all this solving skills, team collaboration, and all that. So yesterday, we talked about like few important facts or few important things we found about the space, right? So this, and this. Generative AI is a new concept. I mean, it's been there like for almost 2 years now, but it is gaining like popularity. So basically, artificial intelligence that can generate something. So if you fill halfway and then the remaining half, it is going to generate and it is going to give you back. That could be audio, that could be video, that could be text, that could be project, that could be a source code, that could be anything. That could be your homework, right? So generative AI is a AI model that can create new things like art, music, writing, etc. Right? So imagine a superpower remix of your favorite artist, right? So that can write a killer song. So generative AI can do. Okay, so now let's see how generative AI works, right? So generative AI is like what do you say, like a super student who works like in studying everything, whatever you made in the computer. So everything, it analyzes like massive amounts of data like text, code, videos, images, and learns, recognizes patterns within the code or within the data that you give. That could be a database or that could be a stock market. And then uses those patterns to create something entirely new, something entirely new. Right? So that is generative AI. Chip is the main component or important component. It's a Lego piece. Let's assume this as a Lego piece. It's a That main component is required for computing, right? For any computer, they have to have that chip. And how tiny the chip, how efficient is the chip, and then uh, how many transistors are there on that chip, that defines how fast it is and how less energy consumption it can have. All those things are determined by that. Okay. So here I'm just giving you guys like a small table here that I found from internet. So during early 19, I'm just talking about the chip evolution. So first, the reason why we are focused on chip is the main component for for any electronic circuit, right? For any computing, like for your computer, your mobile phone, you take any electronic circuit, chip is the main component. So what a chip can have is it can have like multiple transistors implanted inside the chip, and those transistors will do like a computing power, like will do the computing thing. Project management is a crucial skill that involves like planning, organizing, managing resources to achieve a specific goal within the defined time frame. So that is nothing but the project management, because it helps individuals and teams efficiently to accomplish particular tasks inside a project. So these are the key concepts in any project. Usually in IT, 90% of projects fail because they don't define project scope properly. They called scope creep. And you need to understand the project lifecycle. So project lifecycle is different or unique for each type of project. So if it is a project like installing a home theater at your home, it's a different kind of project lifecycle. If you want to define your own chip, microprocessor, it's a different project lifecycle. So like that. Okay. So what is a project? A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service or a result. So it has a defined beginning and end, and its scope and resources are clearly specified. Okay. So unlike it's like a routine operations, projects are unique and often involve new challenges. So here, in the definition, so first thing we need to understand is, for any project, you need to define the beginning and the end. What is the beginning of the project? What is the end of the project? If you don't know this, then you're not going to know how to start, where to start, and you don't know when to stop. Starting is okay if you don't know when to stop. If there's a marathon, there is no end line. If you keep running, what will happen? Right? So that's the reason for any project, before you start the project, you should have a very clear idea what is the start, what is the end. Without that, you should not even attempt to start a project. If you attempt to start a project without knowing the beginning and ending, it is bound to fail. That's it. Okay, so beginning and ending, these two you should know for any project. And other than that, you should know the scope of the project, right? So, like if you compare with the marathon, uh, if you don't know how far you need to go, right? Or if you don't know how slow you can, how slow you can go, or how fast you can go. So the scope is something like, if you go out of the scope, you can always go out of the scope, but you need to put more resources, you need to put more effort, right? So scope is also something like a beginning and end, but the scope is when you are inside your beginning and end. If you know your scope, you can stop at a particular point if you know the scope. If you don't know the scope, it's like unlimited, right? Scope is really important. Okay. So another important thing for any project, another important things are like a goal. What is your goal and objectives of a project? So a goal and objective both are little different. I mean, even though sounds similar, little different. Goals are broad, like they are broad primary outcomes. Those are goals, right? So my goal is to create a microchip which can beat NVIDIA, right? That's a broad goal. While objectives are measurable steps to achieve the goal. So in order to create a chip, I need to have this, right? So, and then each step is nothing but an objective, a measurable objective. So that objective you can measure whether it is successful or not, how much it is successful or how much it is done. Those things you can measure, right? So those are nothing but objectives. So these objectives guide the project to help measure the success. Okay, so that's about goals and objectives. So I already mentioned about the project management, right? So actually I didn't mention the project management. So the project management, for any application, it's a knowledge, skill, and tools and techniques to perfect the activities to meet the project requirements, right? So that is nothing like the project management. So the stakeholders are individuals or groups, can be groups also, who have an interest in the outcome of the project. They don't worry about how you did, what you did. Their interest is the outcome of the project, whether it's successful or not, whether it is successful, how far it is, all that, right? So they can include team members. So the stakeholders means it can be a team member, manager, customers, suppliers, anyone who else affected by the project's results is nothing but stakeholder. Like if humanity is benefiting from this particular project, whatever we are doing, right? everybody in this world or everybody on this planet are stakeholders. If you take like uh, Facebook project, when they created this Facebook service or the Facebook product, it is affecting everybody in the world, right? The stakeholders of this Facebook website or the Facebook service is everybody in the world. So those are nothing but the stakeholders. So identifying and managing the stakeholders' expectations is very crucial in any project. Project scope defines the boundaries of the project, right? So if you cross the boundary, you are wasting your time in doing the project, right? So you should not cross the boundary. Within the boundary, you should work and you should finish the project. So you can define as the boundaries and then specifying what will be included and what will not be included in the project. So it involves in setting the project's goals, deliverables, tasks, costs, deadlines, all those things you need to set within the in the project scope. So there will be a section within your project. It's called the scope, right? So when you write down all the documentation, you have to specify the scope of the project. What is included, what is not included. So what is included is good. What is not included is also really, really important. So if you don't specify what is not included, stakeholders expect, oh, I thought this is included in this is included in the project, right? So then they're going to say at the end, oh, you did not finish this, so the project is not successful, right? So that's why you need to specify what is included and what is not included, right? So in my experience, a lot of projects are failed because the scope is not defined properly. So without defining the scope, if you start the project, you don't know whether it is going to be successful or not. Because usually the stakeholders, what they think is they think something, and after a few days, they'll come up with an idea, and then they think that idea is already included in the project, right? So that's why scope creep is a big problem in managing the project. Like whoever is the team lead, they should always keep track of the scope. Okay, scope creep should not happen. Okay. Okay, project life cycle. So if you, as I mentioned, the life cycle is defined the type of project, right? So usually in our software field, we have like a few steps included: the initiation, like defining the project, high level project, and then understanding. See, understanding what exactly you're doing should be the really really important thing, right? So without understanding your project, you won't be able to do the thing. And then the planning. So detailed planning, who should do what and what we should do at what time. So all the timelines and then who is doing it. If you successfully plan, your project will be successful. Like how successful you are in planning your project determine your entire success. And then the execution, carrying out the project plan. So that is another step. And then monitoring and then controlling, right? So monitoring is really, really important. And then after that, controlling also. So when you start a project, if you don't monitor it, after the last day of the project, if you try to see what we have done, where we have done wrong, it's gone, right? So from day one, you should keep monitoring. So that's the project manager's or team lead's responsibility. Who is doing what, how they are doing, how so far where they are. All those things should be monitored by uh, project manager or the team lead. So that's the reason the project manager has bigger responsibility than anybody else. Okay, so monitoring and the controlling and then closing. So completing and then closing projects, ensuring all aspects are finalized. So those are the few steps in project management cycle in general. And then the time management. So the effective time management involves in planning and controlling the amount you spend on each and every specific each and every activity, right? So that is the time management. Project manager's responsibility is make sure the time managed properly, right? So that is a one thing. And then the cost management. Of course, you have to keep communications with your stakeholders, and then make sure your cost is in the limits, right? So that is also the project manager's responsibility or team lead's responsibility for the entire project. But for the individual pieces, whoever is working on, it's their responsibility to manage their time, to manage the cost and all that. Right? Okay. And then the quality management. That's a final thing. So the quality management also should be done from day one, so that it will be at the end of the project, you will have like a successful project.